Hello everyone, I'm Saurabh Dubey. I'm network support engineer working in F5 network, and the topic of today's presentation is blocking settings. Learning and blocking settings. F5 Application Security Manager, also called as ASM, actually allows you to configure the policy building setting according the selection you make while you generally create a security policy. Now, this learning and blocking settings provide multiple options for the various different features. And an administration can choose either he wants to learn the policy, alarm the policy, or block it. So those three key settings, learn, block, alarm, are in the learning and blocking settings. Now, how we can view and modify these settings is to go to security, application security, policy building, learning and blocking settings. This is the graphical representation from F5 GUI, how the learning and blocking setting looks like. As you see, this is my current edited policy, and there are a couple of general settings in it. The first one is enforcement mode, which is telling me my enforcement mode of the policy. Then we have learning mode, um, whether the policy is in automatic mode or the manual mode. Then I have a policy type, whether it's a custom policy, um, whether it's a fundamental or comprehensive policy. Then we have learning speed. So I'm going to cover all this feature in the later slides in details. The another section is policy building settings, wherein we have all kinds of violations being listed here, and then pertaining to violations, learn, alarm and block, whether you want to learn it, alarm it, or block it. So I'll now give you more details about the general settings. I'll scroll back the slides one more time. So we are covering first enforcement mode. In the later slides, we will cover learning mode, policy type, and learning speed. So let's proceed with the enforcement mode. Under enforcement mode, we can see that we will have uh, actually this defines a policy pattern, like my policy is uh, doing what kind of action. So we have two enforcement mode. It's a transparent and the blocking. In the transparent, this ensure that it allows all the traffic, even if it is causing violation. Why we are doing so? Because we don't want our legitimate traffic to get blocked. However, the transfer mode is basically kept in when we are building the policy and a fresh configuration, and then we want to learn the suggestions. We don't want to block in initial stage unless we learn the suggestion and we customize our policy, more fine tunings. So at the initial stage, you can have the policy mode as transparent mode. However, when the policy is fine-tuned and ready to put in the production, then we need to go with the blocking mode. Once we change the policy to the blocking mode, and whenever there's a violation occurring, the policy will get blocked. Going to the next setting, in general setting, which is a learning mode, we have three types: automatic, manual, and disable. Talking about automatic, in automatic mode, your policy builder automatically learning the suggestion through the application traffic flowing via ASM. And with that learning suggestion, it is building the security policy. Now, how it works is it gives a certain percentage against each and every learning what it is being doing via inspecting the traffic. And once a certain number of threshold attained for that particular learning, it just accept that suggestion. It treats that as a legitimate one, wherein um, multiple users trying to hit that legitimate URL or a parameter, and then it just accept it via automatically. However, in manual, policy builder makes the suggestion, and then an administrator have to manually decide whether they want to include that suggestion or not. If they want to include, they can just accept the suggestion, or either delete the suggestion or ignore the suggestion. So in manual, administrator have a granular control on how to act on the suggestions. However, in disable, if you do not want system to suggest the policy changes, we can select the disable, but again it is like not helping ASM to provide you any suggestion. Further moving, another general setting is the policy type. It is basically the type of ASM policy. Once you create the policy, and there are a couple of options here. So once you go to fundamental, it provides the security level that is actually appropriate for most of the organization. This creates a robust security policy, and these fundamental policies are quick to configure also. But when we need an extra security and a security policy with more granularity, we choose the enhanced one. Now, if you want the highest level of security, then we go with the comprehensive one. And when we create a security policy with the comprehensive option, it further gives you more granularity, but it may take a longer time because it provides you the highest level of security and the configuration can be a little bit bulky. There's another option of vulnerability assessment. This policy type allows you to build a policy using the recommendation from any vulnerability assessment tool. The last option is the custom, wherein it provides the level of security which you want, and you can customize all the settings and the security policy elements in the security policy. So custom is something if you want to customize uh, its bits and pieces in the security policy. Moving further, the last option in the general setting under learning and blocking settings is the learning speed, which actually tells how you are learning the suggestions in the policy. Three options: fast, medium, and slow. Uh, Pertaining to fast, when you have a smaller website with the less traffic and the traffic volume is less, fast learning is recommended. But this learning may create a less accurate security policy. Medium is something which is a default setting and is recommended for most of the site. Um, so medium is a recommended baseline for the learning speed. Coming to the slow is something wherein you have a larger website with lot of traffic, and the recommendation would be slow. And whenever we select the slow, uh, it gives you a very few false positive and creates a more accurate security policy. So slow is something which gives you an accurate security policy. Now you have a policy building settings, and as I told you, with each and every violation you can have a learn, alarm, and block. So I give you an example of URLs. Some violation in under URLs, you will see these options. Learn means it is generating the learning suggestion for that request, which actually triggers a violation. Based on your automatic or manual, you can accept the suggestions will be accepted. Alarm is wherein the records are triggering the violations are getting logged. The system logs under wall log ASM, and it can also log under a local or remote logs depending upon the logging profile settings. Block is you are blocking the request that triggers the violation. Now, when we are blocking in the learning and blocking suggestions, we should be also having an enforcement mode of the policy to set to block. I will cover all these settings in a demo, which I'll give you in the later presentation. Um, there is also a kind of dependency when you enable any feature in ASM. It has a dependency on learning and blocking settings. So either you are configuring cross-site request forgery, you are configuring web scraping, brute force attack. Um, it has to have a learning and blocking setting associated with it. So I give here a sample brute force attack prevention configuration, and if you focus on the note part, it says although the feature is enabled, violation will not be alerted or learned. And to modify these flags, you just look out for under the brute force violation towards the learning and blocking settings. So once you go there, you can either choose it to learn, alarm, or block it. Okay, here's the time for a quick demo. So I'm checking out from my presentation and hopping over on my lab device. You see this device, my device is running on 12.1.2 version. And to see the learning and blocking settings, I go under app security, application security, policy building, learning and blocking settings. Under the learning and blocking settings, I have my current edited policy, which is in transparent mode. Being in lab, ideally in the real time or in the production environment, policies should be in block mode. As I gave the details about all the general settings, this here is your enforcement mode, whether you want the policy to be transparent, meaning accepting the violation all the time, or you want it into the blocking mode. Whenever I make any modifications, ASM gives you an option to save it and apply the policy. Learning mode gives you an option of whether you want an automatic learning, wherein automatic policy builders accept the suggestion on its own and no manual interruption of an administrator. However, for a granular control and for a visibility, you may want to use it as manual. Disable where you don't want it to learn it. Policy type, as I described in the slides, multiple options for you when you create a security policy, and the learning speed, with what speed you want to learn the security policy. Now, these are the violations category under the policy building settings, and in the slides, as I show you about the URL, you see a violation called an illegal URL. Whenever an application traffic is passing through ASM and it triggers a violation called illegal URL, you have an option to learn it, alarm it, and block it. Once you learn it, suggestions will get learned. Once you alarm it, it will get logged under wall log ASM, and then you can either choose to block it. Whenever you are blocking a violation, you need to ensure that your policy enforcement mode is also in the block mode. So you block the violation here as well as the enforcement mode should be blocked. If your enforcement mode is transparent, then it's going to allow your traffic. So you need to ensure both the places you should have a block. In the later side, as I told you, there is some dependency of any feature when you enable. So if we go under anomaly detection and let's say we are doing a brute force attack configuration, when we create in, we put our logon page and the brute force protect criterias, like how many times of minimum failed login attempts per second somebody can generate, and certain percentage like the failed login increased by 500%. And then once you have all the settings intact for this brute force configuration, you need to focus on the note which says although the feature is enabled, violation may not be alerted or learned. So once this configuration is intact, you need to ensure that your policy is in block mode, and also your learning and blocking suggestion for the brute force violation should be in block mode. And how you can directly go to the suggestion from here. Just click on this learning and blocking setting screen, and it will take you to the brute force maximum logon attempt exceeded violation. You can choose to learn, alarm, and also block when your policy is in block mode. And another quick example, let's suppose you are doing a cross-site request forgery configuration, and the moment you enable it, you will notice a note which says even the feature is enabled, violation may not be alarm or learn. So what you need to go to, you need to see this violation under blocking and learning settings. So once we click here, the violation will show up in learning and blocking settings, which is CSRF, attack detected, and what else you want to do it. So let me close my lab demo and hop over to the presentation again. So here's a quick recap of what we have learned. We have seen the learning and blocking settings, and under that we have general settings, which shows us how was the enforcement mode of the policy. Is it automatic? Is it manual? And then you have a I'm sorry, is the enforcement mode should be your transparent and block. Then your learning mode should be automatic or manual. Then you have policy type, whether you want a comprehensive policy or a fundamental policy or a custom one, followed by you have a learning speed of how you want to learn the policy, low, medium, high. And then feature enablement along with the learning and blogging setting, which is your brute force, CSRF, and your web scraping. All those have a dependency in learning and blocking settings. If your policy is in block mode and you don't enable the block in the learning and blocking settings, then your request may not be blocked, vice versa. So this is uh, this is the end of the presentation. I hope this information is informative for you, and I would like to thank you for viewing it.